They say money can buy anything: cars, houses, power, even respect. But it cannot buy peace, and it cannot erase regret. There was once a man who had everything the world could offer. His name was Ugo. Ugo was not just any man. He was rich, very rich. In fact, he was a billionaire. People knew his name like they knew the morning sun. Some smiled when they saw him. Some bowed. Others whispered behind his back. That is Chief Ugo, they would say. The man with 10 cars, 20 lands, and money that never finishes. Ugo was a man whose name alone could shake tables. A billionaire with houses in Lagos, land in Dubai, and connections that reached into the very veins of power. In town, people either whispered his name with awe or cursed it under their breath. He wore money like perfume, strong and suffocating. But inside his mansion, where marble kissed every corner, silence ruled. His wife, Sandra, and their 3 beautiful children lived abroad. They only come around during Christmas or Easter, when the air was festive and cameras were plenty. Most of the time, Ugo stayed alone. Only his footsteps echoed in the big house. The clock ticked loudly, like a heart beating in an empty room. He had workers, yes, a driver who opened the car door like he was handling gold, a cook who made meals that smelled like heaven. But still, when night came, the house was quiet again, so quiet you could hear the walls sigh. And in that quiet, Ugo sat like a king with no one to talk to. He had money, yes, but he had no joy. Inside the big lonely house where Ugo lived, there was a girl. Her name was Stella. Stella was not like Ugo. She didn't have money. She didn't wear gold. Her slippers were old. Her clothes were plain, but her heart was clean, like fresh water in a clay pot. She came from a far village where hunger walked from house to house. Her parents had nothing. Her younger brothers cried at night because their stomachs were empty. So Stella came to work in the city, not for herself, but to send money back home. Every morning, before the birds finished singing, Stella would sweep the compound. Her broom danced across the floor like a bride's feet. She cleaned the windows until they shined like clear river water. She polished the floor. She washed Ugo's clothes and ironed them until not one wrinkle remained. She made his food, always just the way he liked it, sometimes spicy, sometimes sweet, but never late. She watered the flowers gently, like she was touching her mother's hair. Even when the sun was hot and sweat ran down her back like rain, Stella did not complain. Not once. If Ugo said, "Stella, bring tea," she brought it fast. If he said, "Stella, change the curtains," she had already done it. She worked like a small machine, quiet and strong. But Stella never smiled too much. She kept her words few, like coins in a poor man's pocket. She knew her place. She stayed out of trouble. She stayed out of Ugo's way. The mansion was her workplace, not her home, and she was only the maid. But even the wind knows it is always the quiet house where the loudest storm begins. But behind all the cars and clothes, behind the gates and gold, Ugo was not a good man. When the sun went down and the streetlights came on, Ugo came alive like a hungry animal in the night. He would wear perfume so strong, even the air would cough. He wore shirts that opened too low and shoes that sparkled like devil's teeth. Every night, his driver took him to clubs, places where the music was loud and the lights were red and blue like trouble flashing. Ugo danced with women that were not his wife. He drank until his tongue forgot how to talk straight. His laughter was thick with pride. He threw money in the air like dust, just to watch people crawl for it. "More wine," he would shout. "Bring the girl in the red dress," he would say. And when he left, His eyes would be red, his breath like spoiled palm wine. He came home when the night was tired. He slammed the door. He dropped his keys. His footsteps were heavy. His voice was louder than a thunderclap. Stella always heard him. She would wake up quickly, wipe her face, and wait for the next command. Ugo believed money was everything, that with it he could bend the world like dry stick. He did not care for truth. He did not care for heaven or hell. He did not fear God. His heart was hard like rock, and his soul dry like a broken well. People outside thought he was a great man. But inside the mansion, the devil danced, and Ugo led the music. One night, the sky was dark, like burnt cloth. The moon was hiding. Even the wind was quiet. Then, bang, the gate opened. Ugo had come home. He staggered out of the car like a tree about to fall. His shirt was open. His eyes were red. His breath carried the sharp smell of alcohol, the kind that could slap your face. He kicked off his shoes and shouted, "Stella, where is my spicy chicken soup?" Or questions. She just cooked, even though her eyes were still heavy. She brought the soup to him. "Here it is, sir." But Ugo did not touch the food. His eyes were no longer looking at the soup. They were looking at her, slowly, from her head to her feet. He smiled, but it was not a good smile. Then he said, "The spicy food I want is not this soup. It is you." Stella's hands shook. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "Go inside," Ugo said. "Change your clothes." Stella turned and went to her room. She changed. She came out wearing a long gown. Ugo looked. He frowned. Number not good. She changed again. A shorter one. He shook his head. Still not good. She changed again. And again. Her heart beat fast like drum during festival. But Ugo's eyes stayed the same. Then, without warning, he walked into her room. He closed the door. He said, "You look best with no clothes at all." Before Stella could speak, his hands grabbed her. She tried to scream, but her voice was stuck. She tried to run, but her legs failed her. That night, he forced himself on her. The ceiling heard it. The floor heard it, but no one came. Stella cried until her eyes were dry. But Ugo, he slept like a king. And when the sun rose, the world looked the same. But Stella's world was broken. From that night onward, Stella's room was no longer her own. When the sky turned dark and the stars began to blink, Stella's heart would start beating like a talking drum. She didn't need a clock to know when it was time. Her fear told her, "Knock." Then the door would open slowly. Ugo would step in like a shadow. He would say nothing at first, just stand and watch her. Then, in a cold voice, he would say, "If you tell anyone, you will die." Stella would nod, her lips tight like a sealed pot. She didn't speak. She didn't fight. She couldn't. She was alone, poor, helpless. He came again the next night, and the night after that, and the next, and the next. Every night, like a curse, Ugo returned. Sometimes she was sleeping, sometimes she was praying, but Ugo didn't care. He took what he wanted and left like a thief. Stella cried, but she cried in silence. Her pillow soaked her tears, her body bruised, her spirit bruised more. But no one saw, no one knew. The house remained clean, the food remained sweet, the flowers still got water. But inside Stella, a fire was burning, slow, quiet, and deep. The mansion was big, yes, but in Stella's room, the pain was bigger. The days walked by, quiet like ants. Weeks followed, one after the other, carrying Stella's pain in their pockets. She still cleaned, she still cooked, she still smiled when Ugo shouted her name. But inside her body, Something had started to grow. One morning, Stella woke up feeling strange. Her head was heavy. Her stomach turned like hot oil in a pan. She tried to sweep, but her hands shook. She tried to carry a bucket, but her back cried. Then she looked at her belly. It was not flat anymore. She pressed it. It felt firm, round, alive. Her eyes widened. Her mouth trembled. Her knees gave way. No, she whispered. No, no, no. But the truth stood before her like a mirror. Stella was pregnant. She held her waist and sat on the cold floor. She cried like rain in the middle of Harmattan. Tears came long and fast. Her hands covered her face. What will I do? She whispered. How will I hide this? Who will believe me? She thought of her mother in the village, her brothers, their hunger, their hopes. Then she stood up. She wiped her eyes. She took a deep breath and walked to Ugo's room. Her hands shook, but her feet did not stop. She knocked. He said, "Come in." She entered. He was sipping wine and reading the newspaper. Stella knelt down and said in a small voice, "Sir, I am pregnant." When Stella said the words, Ugo froze. The cup in his hand stopped halfway. His eyes blinked fast, like a man waking from a bad dream. Then his voice thundered across the room. "What did you say?" Stella's head was still bowed. She whispered again, "I am pregnant." Ugo jumped up. His face changed. His hands flew to his head. "No, no, no, no," he shouted. "My wife must not hear this. My family must not know." He began to pace the room like a trapped animal. Left, right, left, right. His gold chain danced on his neck. His mind ran like a frightened goat. Then he picked up his phone. "Driver, come here now. Start the car." Stella just knelt there, still, silent, shaking like dry leaf in a storm. Ugo wore his clothes fast and rushed out. Stella heard the car roar away like angry thunder. Hours passed. The sun had moved from one window to the next. Then Ugo returned. He walked in carrying a black bag. He opened it and threw it at Stella's feet. "Take this," he barked. "Take it. Do whatever you want with the baby. I don't care. But leave. I do not want to see your face again." Stella opened the bag. Money. Plenty money. The kind she had never seen in her life. But her eyes were not on the money. Her tears fell onto the floor. She stood. She packed her small bag. She folded her wrapper. She tied her scarf. She did not speak. She did not beg. She walked to the door with slow feet. At the gate, she turned one last time. The mansion stood tall behind her, but in her heart, it had fallen. Then she walked out. The sky above was blue, but Stella's world was gray. After Stella walked out of the mansion with her small bag and tears in her eyes, no one ever saw her again. The gate closed behind her, and just like smoke, she disappeared. Some said they saw her standing on the long bridge that leads out of the city. They said she looked down at the water for a long time. Then one man said she jumped. Others said no. She went back to her village. She gave birth there and started a new life. Many people had stories, but none of them were sure. The truth was like a bird with no nest. It flew from mouth to mouth, but never stopped. In Ugo's house, her name was never spoken again. The maids whispered it only at night. The driver shook his head whenever he remembered her eyes. But no one knew what truly happened to Stella. She was gone, like a breeze that passed through, and left only silence behind. After Stella left, the mansion felt empty, but not for Ugo. He sat on his soft chair. He poured himself more wine. He whistled as if nothing had happened. The very next week, a new maid arrived. Her name was Chica. She had big eyes and soft hands, but after 3 days she ran away. Another maid came. Her name was Lami. She was quiet like Stella, but after 1 week she packed her things at night and left without telling anyone. Then came Ruth, then Bisi, then Eka, but none of them stayed. Ugo's house became a place where fear lived. Why? Because Ugo did not change. He still drank like a leaking pot. He still went to clubs every night. He still came home with lipstick on his shirt. He still shouted, slammed doors, and cursed at the air. The staff whispered to each other, "This man has no rest in his soul. He's like a lion with no forest. He thinks money can clean every sin." But Ugo didn't care. He would smile and say, "Let them go. I'll hire another one tomorrow." He was still proud, still wicked, still blind. The mansion looked rich on the outside, but inside it stank of silence, fear, and brokenness. And the one who caused it all, he sat at the center, drinking wine like water. The years walked slowly, but they did not forget Ugo. His strong arms became weak. His voice, one loud like thunder, became soft like morning wind. His black hair turned white, one strand after another, like dust covering a once shiny mirror. His beard, too, it lost its shine and grew like old cotton. Ugo still had money, plenty of it, but his laughter was gone. His eyes looked tired. He would sit on the balcony, watching the gate that no one opened. The house was still big, the cars were still many, but silence lived in every corner. No more footsteps, no more greetings, no more life. He missed the noise, he missed the hugs, he missed the sound of his children calling, "Daddy!" He missed Sandra's calm voice and her slow walk through the house. One morning, Ugo looked out the window and sighed. He said, "What is all this without them?" He picked up his phone and called overseas. He said, "Come back. I want all of us to live together again." He made plans. He called the cook, the driver, the cleaner. "Wash the curtains, scrub the tiles, clean every corner," he ordered. He smiled for the first time in years. He told himself, "My house will be full again. My heart will dance again." But the wind outside did not smile back. It only whispered, "Let us see." The big day came. Ugo wore his best white kaftan. He sprayed his finest perfume. He even polished his shoes himself. His face shone like glass. His heart beat like talking drum. "Today, my house will breathe again," he said. He placed flowers on the table, set extra plates on the dining, opened all the windows to let joy enter. He looked at the clock again and again. The plane was to land by 3 o'clock. By 2:30, he was already sitting outside, smiling, waiting. He imagined the sound of children laughing. He pictured Sandra opening her arms for a hug. He was ready to say, "Welcome home." But the sky was too quiet. Even the birds were not singing. Then his phone rang. He picked it fast. "Hello?" he said, already smiling. But the voice on the phone was not smiling. It was shaking. "Are you Chief Ugo?" "Yes, this is Ugo." The voice paused. Then it said, "I am sorry, sir. The plane carrying your family, it crashed. There were no survivors." Time stopped. Ugo's phone fell from his hand. His eyes widened. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His knees bent. His body dropped. He fell to the floor, like a tree with a rotten root. His driver rushed in. "Sir, sir." But Ugo was gone from that moment. His body was there, but his heart had broken into pieces too small to find. They carried Ugo like a sack of sorrow. His eyes were closed. His hands were cold. His mouth moved, but no words came out. Only whispers. like wind passing through an empty hut. The hospital lights were bright, but Ugo was fading. His blood was leaving him, fast like a stream broken open. Doctors rushed in, nurses ran, machines beeped like alarm bells. "We must act now," one doctor shouted. "But his blood type is rare," another said. "Very rare. We don't have it." They searched, they called, they waited. But the clock kept ticking, like footsteps marching toward death. Then a young voice spoke. "Check my blood," the young doctor said. He was tall, gentle and calm, like the morning sun. "If it matches, use it." They checked, it matched. Without wasting time, they took his blood. Bag after bag, life flowing from one man to another. Ugo's chest began to rise again. His heart started to beat steady. He opened his eyes slowly. The room was quiet now. He was alive, but empty. His wife gone. His children gone. His pride shattered. Ugo had escaped death, but he had lost everything that made life sweet. Days passed. Ugo lay in the hospital bed, quiet like a beaten drum. He ate little. He spoke less, but his heart was still beating, thanks to the blood of a stranger. One morning, he stood up from his bed. His steps were slow. His back was bent. But he said, "I must see the doctor who gave me his blood. I must thank him." He wore a simple cloth. No gold, no perfume, just the smell of hospital soap on his skin. He was led to the doctor's room. The door opened. A young man stood there, smiling. "Good morning, sir," the doctor said, bowing slightly. Ugo looked at him. The young man had kind eyes, strong shoulders, a calm voice. "I came to thank you," Ugo said, his voice shaking like dry leaves. "You gave me your blood. You saved my life." The doctor smiled gently and replied, "I only did my duty, sir. It was nothing." Ugo nodded slowly. His eyes filled with tears, but he wiped them fast. Just then, the door opened behind them. A woman walked in. She carried a small basket of food and a bottle of water. "Dr. Daniel," she said, "you left your—" Her eyes met Ugo. She froze. Ugo turned to look at her. His heart jumped. His mouth fell open. The basket dropped from her hand. It was Stella, the girl from the past, the one he had thrown away like yesterday's paper. And now she was standing before him, alive, stronger, older, different. But he knew that face, and she knew his. The room was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that makes even the walls hold their breath. Ugo stood like a statue. His hands dropped to his sides. His eyes stayed on Stella, wide like a child who had seen a ghost. Stella looked at him. Her eyes were no longer full of fear. They were full of truth, full of pain. She took a deep breath. Then she said, "This is my son, the one you told me to throw away." Ugo blinked, once, twice. His knees gave up. He sat on the chair behind him, slowly, like a falling leaf. His eyes moved to the young doctor. The same nose, the same eyes, the same way he raised his eyebrow when confused. The boy looked just like him, as if heaven had drawn him with Ugo's face. Stella stepped forward. "His name is Daniel," she said. "He's the child I carried when you gave me money and said I should disappear." Ugo's lips trembled. I didn't know." Stella's voice was calm, but her words were sharp. "You didn't care to know." Daniel stood between them, confused but quiet. He looked at his mother, then at Ugo. "Is this true?" he asked. Stella nodded slowly. Ugo could not speak. His mouth was full of regret, his eyes full of shame, his heart full of cracks. The boy who saved his life was the same boy he once rejected. Ugo could not hold it in. He dropped to his knees. right there on the hospital floor. His hand shook. His voice cracked. Stella, Daniel, forgive me, he cried. Forgive me for all the pain I caused. I was blind. I was wicked. I was wrong. Tears poured from his eyes like a broken tap. He wept like a lost child looking for his mother. Stella covered her mouth. Her eyes filled up too. Her body trembled as the tears came down like rain on a dusty path. She had waited so long for this moment. She had dreamed of it. But now, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like sorrow finally finding its voice. Ugo looked at Daniel. I don't deserve your blood. I don't deserve your kindness. Daniel took a deep breath. He stepped forward and placed a hand on Ugo's shoulder. Father, he said softly, I have no anger in my heart. Ugo looked up, surprised. You have lost your wife, your children, your peace, Daniel continued. What you need now is not punishment. You need rest. You need healing. We forgive you. Ugo broke down again. He held Stella's hand in one hand, Daniel's hand in the other. He cried like a man who had carried sorrow for too long, and for the first time in many years. His heart began to breathe again. Ugo went home, but he was not the same man. The house was still big, the room still wide, the cars still shined, but Ugo's heart was no longer loud. He didn't shout anymore. He didn't drink. He didn't go to clubs. He didn't chase women. He woke up early. He sat by the window. He looked at the sky for a long time. And when no one was watching, he whispered small prayers. God, thank you for giving me another chance, he would say. He called his lawyer. He brought out his documents. He wrote clearly, one part for Daniel, one part for Stella. The rest, let it go. He said to them, this is my way of saying sorry, not with words, but with my hands. Stella said nothing. She just nodded, her eyes wet but kind. Daniel smiled and said, thank you, Papa. From that day, they lived together. They ate together. They laughed sometimes. They sat under the evening breeze and told stories. Ugo was now quiet, like a river after a storm. He didn't wear too much gold. He didn't care for praise. He had lost his wife and his children, the family he once showed the world. But now, he found a new one, the family he once threw away. And even though the past could not be erased, God gave him a second chance. Through the son he once rejected. And this time, he held on with both hands. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, share with friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more African folk tales just like this one. Thank you.